Yeah.
What's up? I know when you're looking at that video, you're going to say to yourself, Ninja, what's the story of that video? What's happening there? Well, I'll explain it over. But I don't know about you guys. I think I might start this off on a light note. I think locks and keys, they might be a thing of the past, guys, because clearly sticky tape, sellotape, band-aids, whatever you want to call them, clearly they're more safe than locks and keys. You know, I think people should probably change the locks and keys in their houses and just go for sticky tape in the future. What do you think? Do you think that'd be a good idea? I think the prison system would probably take me up on that as well too. Why not just have the jails have sticky tape on them? The lads definitely won't get out and it'll be totally sealed and nobody will be able to move in and out there, you know? This is absurd stuff, isn't it? It's crazy. When you're looking at this situation, and I mean, look at the post that has been made here by Pascal Sheehy. This is a guy that has 24,000 followers. He's an RTE News Southern editor. It has 175 likes on this post, but it has 245.8 thousand views. This is a weird video. And the reason why I say it's weird is because why would you post something like this out? And why would multiple people do that when this looks as bad as it does? Because this looks really bad. Now I'm going to say something that is going to annoy certain people, but I don't care. You look at the wider world and you look at what happened in America in 2020. A guy who campaigned from his basement that couldn't get people to rallies, a fella that was totally senile at the time and got even worse over the course of time, a fella who was known as a career lawyer and a career politician who didn't do any good. He somehow romped home with the most votes of all time at the time. And his big campaign was, I'm not the other guy. That was unbelievable, and to be quite honest with you, there's been an awful lot of videos out there that have proven there was awful shenanigans that went on at the time. And I know people can get blackpilled from that. But what ended up happening this time was people went out, and I know it's the age-old adage of, oh, you can't just vote harder. Well, that's what I think happened in America this time. People just went out, and they went out in droves, and they went out and they caused so much upheaval for the system that they were like, look, it's going to be very, very difficult to try and turn it the other way. So I think that's why nationalist patriots need to unite into one party rather than scattering out votes and competing against each other in different areas. I think it's going to have to be that way because it's the only way forward. Because to be honest with you, splintering the votes and having preferences for certain people is probably not the best way forward. That's how the regime keep winning though. They keep bolstering people with their names and then that's it. Simple as. But you're looking at this video, and this video to me I think is absolutely stunning, to think that this was posted out and that nobody was going to look at this like I do or like anybody else that are in the comments here and ask questions. Now on the day itself, on election day, I tweeted out and I had said I'd been contacted by various people that had spoken to me about not being asked for identification when they voted. They also said that they had seen people in the station also not being asked for identification. Now that is something that you must be asked for. You then have curious situations like people that have been labelled far right, people that have been getting an awful lot of support and backing, attending protests, rallies, whatever you might call them, and have become household names as things stand. And yet they fail to get positions or fail to get enough votes. But the people who are causing issues in this country then seem to just romp back in. That to me is very unusual. It's highly unusual and highly suspect. You know, if I was the regime, what I would want to do is I would want to have a complete shutout of everybody. And that to me seems like how things have gone. It also seems like Matty McGrath, who I would have said was the only TD that was in the Dáil that gave people a voice, is now possibly going to lose speaking rights in the Dáil, which means it's a closed house then if that happens. Do you know what I'm saying? You also have very curious things happen, like Simon Harris going from 15 counts to the first count this time, even though he had a disastrous campaign. You've Helen McEntee that supposedly, according to people online, increased her first preference votes by 2,000. How? This is a person that is completely disliked and is responsible for an awful lot of problems that we have in this country, along with her colleagues. Let's make no bounds about that. But how does that happen? Then there was an allegation that came out, and that was being reported online, that Helen McEntee's cousin was doing the tallying in Meath East. That's weird, isn't it? So you've got a combination of things that have happened, and then you see this video, and then what ends up happening then later on, because I'll do videos on them separately as well. Apparently there was 500,000 people. This has been reported by an outlet online and by other people. There was 500,000 people who were deceased who voted in the election. That's according to another outlet. How did that happen? Where did those votes go? Who did they go to? You know what I mean? So, listen, if they're going to do it in America, you know, you're dealing with people, and I put out the tweet, you're dealing with career lawyers who have voted for repealing the 8th, that voted for you to be locked in your home, that voted for you to have to take a medical experiment, that voted for you to then be given papers as a passport to go out into a cinema, a pub, a restaurant after taking said experiment, and they're now washing their hands of the experiment, saying, oh, no, that was nothing to do with us. And you don't think that they're capable of doing something like what happened in America in 2020? Well, I've got news for you. So let's have a look at this video. And as you can see here, returning officer Martin Harvey seeing the count centre at Nima Rangers for Cork South Central and Cork South Central. We'll be back here at 9 a.m. Hashtag General Election 24. Now, as people have pointed out, they have said rightfully that this was posted at 11:18 p.m. and people will be back at 9 a.m. Why hasn't the count started immediately? Why is there a number of hours there being left with people doing nothing? You know what I mean? It's incredible. I have to be honest with you. It really is. So, what really stands out to me, before we get into the sticky tape and all of this nonsense, and the face on the guard here, I think the face on this guy is pretty interesting, you know? It's like a Father Ted sketch, guys. So, first of all, the lights are being left on inside whilst this is being sealed. That's a strange move, isn't it? Because these people in the government and politicians in general are all about conservation, and the Green Party are all about this as well, and the rest of them too, because let's make no bounds about it. The Green Party aren't solely responsible for everything that's gone wrong over the last couple of years. They're part of it, but all of the Uniparty are responsible for that. You won't see the Uniparty taking back, rescinding anything that the Green Party suggested. You know what I mean? They're just going to keep going with it. So, is that not wasting electricity? Is that not costing the taxpayer? No. No care at all. So that's an interesting point I just want to make, and one observation I want to make just straight off the bat. Also, you're telling me that you're sealing this door, and I think that the camera phones are very funny, that the way that they're being posted around here and people are taking videos of it. Oh, look at the evidence that we have, guys, that they totally did seal the doors. Are there any other entrances into this place? You know what I mean? I think that that's a good question to be asking. You also have the guard, and I have to be honest with you, again, this guy's face is very funny to me. He looks like he's saying, sure, look at Michael, they're putting sticky tape on the door. Look at, so this place is secure now. You know what I mean? This is absolutely insane. And the fact that we live, look at the face of him here, honest to God, lads. The fact that we live in a country like this is like a Benny Hill sketch, that this has happened here in this country in 2024, and they thought nothing of this, is remarkable to me. They actually think that the population are stupid. You know, look at the face of him over here. I just find that to be very interesting, I do. And fair play to you, you know. I think, in fairness, I would have a similar face, probably a worse face, I would say, if I was here looking at this. Look at this buckle here, look at him. Sure, look at, they're putting the tape on the door. No one will get in there now. Ah, lads, listen. Sticky tape on the door. We've been doing it all wrong. We have locks and keys. Don't worry about them anymore now. We'll put this tape on the door. Honest to God. But this is it. This is Ireland in a nutshell. Ireland 2024. How do we secure an election, guys? Sure, look, we'll put the tape on the door. You know what I mean? It's unbelievable. Really and truly. I'm lost for words at times when it comes to things that happen in this country. But this one really took the biscuit. Because to me, I'm looking at it. I'm saying to myself, guys, surely there's other people looking at this situation and saying to themselves, this doesn't look right. This looks very weird. The outcome of this election was very weird. To not even get one person in there that, as an outlier, to ruffle some feathers. Now, I know people that say, you know, and I do agree, and I see the point as well, where they'd say Gerard Hutch entered the race at the votes from Malachy Steenson. I hear that point, I do. But here's what I would say. And I know people want to go at that little kind of line. But Malachy Steenson and Gerard Hutch were running in the same area as Mary Lou MacDonald, Pascal Donoghue, Gary Gannon, and Marie Sherlock. Now, I'll just be straight up here with you when I say this, okay? Mary Lou was probably going to get in anyway just because of the name and that. Pascal Donoghue, I thought, was possibly in a situation where he could have lost the seat, because I seen that he was making moves towards Europe and the finance sector, and I thought maybe that might be the way. Gary Gannon was the shoe-in for me to lose the seat, because like, I don't know anybody that likes him at all. He's a very strange individual, and the stuff that's going to come out about the Social Democrats eventually is going to be pretty interesting, you know. They were running a Dow fire, they were in another part of the country, and also they were a party that had Owen Hanley in it. Now, I don't know what the update is about Owen Hanley. Maybe Gary Gannon might post something out with regards to that and see if there was a Garda investigation into him or what the story is, you know. But to me, I thought he was another one that was possibly going to lose to see. But here's where I come back to the logistics of why I think that there's something suspect going on. Not that I think that anyway, but I fully believe it. You know, genuinely held belief here. The people of town voted for a woman from Cork over Gerard Hutch and Malachy Steenson. That's an interesting one, isn't it? To be quite fair. By the way, she's related to other people that had political notions in their blood. The former politicians is what I will say. She's related to former politicians. So, odd, isn't it? Odd that the regime seemed to have gotten an awful lot of people back into positions, and, you know, the Green Party were decimated. But I don't think any of those people care, because they just slink off somewhere else. Like, there you have Noel Rock, for example. That's another... I can't even say the words on this platform, to be honest with you. But that's another one that was, after being talking about, and this is where he was in a lobbying industry so for the last few years. So he was lobbying the government. And then he ran an election and said, well, back to the lobbying. Do you know what I mean? Like, you don't have a situation here in this country now where you're looking at it and you're going, I think you can make a run at it. I think if you had a massive party, I think if you had one united nationalist patriotic party, I think you could make a run at it. But other than that, you're looking at a situation that has just unfolded right now where I think the government were afraid. I think the noises that have been coming out of the government and the media over the last year or so has been fear. I know people will say, no, they're not afraid at all. I genuinely do think that they are. I think that they use things like this to try and psyop people into thinking, yeah, we're definitely the ones to be running the show right now. But everyone's looking at this. Nobody's happy with the outcome. Everyone's looking down who voted for them. You know what I mean? It's the same situation as to what happened the last time with the Greens. I don't know a single person, not a single person do I know that has ever voted for the Greens in my entire life. Not a single person do I know. So, how has that occurred? Going back on this video, I think this video is very telling. I think, in my opinion, they're telling on themselves. And wasn't it Mark Twain who said, if voting changed anything, they wouldn't let us do it at all. Now, I'm paraphrasing there, that's not an exact quote. But I think that that's something that should be looked at and should be spoken about. George Carlin also said, it's one big club and you ain't in it. So when you talk about all of the relations and the people that are linked to one another, whether it be through family or whether it be through different marriages, maybe that could be, from the female side or from the male side. I think when you look at those sort of things that are happening here in this country, things become very clear. You look at, for example, Ryan Tubridy, his grandfather, I think it was, that was pictured with Eamon de Valera, and yet then Ryan Tubridy is there and he's a talk show host, and he seems to have absconded, allegedly, speculatively, to a different country, and he's talking nonsense over there and getting paid handsomely for that, So, what have we learned? Well, what we've learned here is that the media are silly, that this situation in its entirety is silly. The fact that you're putting sticky tape on a door is totally not able to be messed with. No one can come along and peel them off and put them back on. This old boy here knows what he's doing by flattening it out and making sure there's no bubbles in it at all. Wouldn't be like anybody here in this country to get up to no good and do things that they shouldn't be doing. Wasn't Leo Varadkar under criminal investigation? Remember that one? Don't we have a show called Reeling in the Years where year after year scandals happen? Anyway, I think this is a video for the ages, guys. I think that this one is a bad one for them, and I think one of these things has led to another. I think people questioning the voter ID, the identification not being asked for at polling stations, created a big reverberation around the media, because they start seeing the media starting to dig into things. Fairness to Gripped Media, they started to dig into the register, and that stuff has been spoken about now. It's been spoken about on different media outlets. I'll be doing a video on it to keep you informed. And then you see incidents like this, and to me you're going, well, what's the alternative? Well, the alternative is, and I think, like I said earlier on, the vote harder line is something that people think is silly, and listen, I think it's silly too in a way, but if you do have one solid united party of nationalists and patriots that have more numbers than the others, it would be incredibly difficult to beat them. You would obviously need a money man for sure, but I think it's doable. I think that this government and the media have been afraid over the last year. I think that this is an act, and I think is an act of desperation. I think they understand that people are not happy. They understand that they need to keep the status quo for themselves, because if people get in there that are going to turn on them, well, that's not good for them, as history points out and shows. So, to me, this is a video that looks so bad, and the only thing I can keep saying is that. So let me know what you think in the comments down below. Make sure you like, make sure you share, and make sure you subscribe to the channel. Really appreciate that, and I'll talk to you later. Good luck.